Today, it's permutations and combinations. So, I hope you remember these because I taught them yesterday. But if I said 7p6, would I be talking about something that has order, like the order matters? Yeah, the p is the kind where the order matters. And then on the other kind, 7c6, that kind, the order doesn't matter. And so you get quite a different answer. All right, so right now, I hope you remember, but I'm not going to make you teach this to the other kid until you've got a chance to see me do one more. Okay, but in a minute, I'm going to have that partner thing going on where you're going to be like the one who's teaching the other person how to do it and vice versa. All right, so it's called reciprocal learning. That's the official name for that thing. All right, so if it's 7p6, then you'd have 7. Does anybody know what the exclamation mark is actually called?
Factorial.
Factorial, very good. 7 factorial over 7 minus 6, which is 1 factorial. And so then this would just be 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And then the other one is very similar. Would you please set it up? But it's got one little difference. See if you remember. So along the lines of getting you in a spot where you have a partner for today, I would love it if JP, would you move over to that spot so he has a partner for today? All right. And you two over today. And you slide your desk right here. You two and you get stuck with each other as usual. All right. Just want to get that kind of ready. All right. So this one, did you remember? It was 7 factorial over 1 factorial again. But see, there's an extra one of these. I try to help you remember that it's the C kind that has an extra one of those. So then this would really be 7 times 6 times 5, ... keeps going, right? Over 1 factorial is just 1, times 6 times 5 times, I don't want to keep going. I'm naturally want to save time. That cancels that. The answer was 7. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, cool. So just to get the feeling for this, I'm going to give you a problem. And I'm going to have the Windows side person start being the teacher. And you're going to teach that other person how to do it. Okay? And they're going to ask a clarifying question like, well, what if this happened? Or if the problem was like this, what would you do then? Or, just some kind of clarifying question. All right, so let's do this. This row, would you please slide over next to the other row? Don't have a perfect, even number of people. So for today, we're going to say both of you guys are going to be at the window side, and you're going to be on the other side. So you kind of work your way through. There's no perfect world. All right, actually slide over 6 inches apart, please. These two rows, 6 inches apart. All right, last chance to put phones away without any penalty. And here we go. What if I had 7 kids and I was going to pick 2 to help clean after class? That's a math problem. How many different ways could I do that out of those 7 kids? Now, the person on the Windows side, would you please show the other person on your iPad, here's how you do it. And your job, if you're the learner, is just to ask them a clarifying question. You could be right halfway through it. You can be like, well, what about this? All right, so play your role. Go for it. Okay. So I hope that person explained it to you correctly, that the order wouldn't matter, and so it would be a C question, and it'd be a 7 and a 2. And a good question for the kid would be like, couldn't you do it, let the 2 in the front? Because it's 2 out of 7, and then the teacher would be like, no, bigger numbers always got to go there, and so, Okay, so is it 7C2? Do you guys agree? All right, good. And then if I was actually going to get the answer, it'd be 7 factorial, or a 7 minus 2 is 5 factorial, with an extra one of those, 2 factorial. And then you could have worked it all the way out and got the final answer. And let's actually get it. It'd be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 over 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with an extra 2 times 1. And then that cancels that. And then this is 42 divided by 2. So it's half of 42. So it's 21. Raise your hand if your teacher taught you right. Okay, good. All right. Now, it's going to go the other way. Now, the other person is going to explain, and this one is going to be a permutation, which is a little easier, so you got lucky. All right, so I'd like you to have the other person is going to explain now why, if there was a race of 4 kids, and they just literally race across the parking lot, how many different ways could they finish first, second, and third? Notice, I don't care about the 4th place. I only am giving ribbons like there's a blue ribbon for first, and there's a silver ribbon for second, and then there's a bronze for third, but that's it. Okay, so do you agree the order matters in this one? All right, so it's a little easier to calculate. So if there's 3 places, now there's 2 different ways you could explain this one. You pick one of those 2 ways, teacher, and explain it to the other person, how you do it. Okay, so here's some options. You've got, you could do it with blanks. Would I have 4 blanks? No. Even though there's 4 kids, I only have 3 places for them. And then you think of it in terms of choices. How many choices do I have for that first spot? 3. No, there's 4 kids that could win first place. And then, can I repeat it? 4, 4, and 4? No, because you can't have the same kid win first, second, and third place. That doesn't make any sense. So then it's got to be 4, 3, and 2. Now, your teacher also might have explained it this way, that if you had a P problem, because the order matters, then this would be 4P3, and then you'd go 4 factorial over 4 minus 3 is 1 factorial. And then it seems like this is doing 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, and it is. But the times 1 doesn't really matter, does it? You know what I mean? So it's still 4 times 3 times 2. So it's 24. All right. So how many of you guys had 24 for your answer? Okay, good. All right. Now, that is fundamentally the P's and the C's. So then what else is there? Well, there's the blank kind of problems. Now, on your Schoology quiz for today, they're going to ask you about permutations, combinations, or neither. Neither is when you have this kind of question. Everybody put 4 blanks out. All right. And we're going to go with A, B, C, and D. Would you agree that that is in alphabetical order? All right. So then if I want to put it, and I have some like requirements here on how I can put the letters in, I have this thing about always starting with A, but then I don't care what order they go in. How many different orders can there be? All right, the teacher on this one, do your best to try to teach them, and you might be wrong. Maybe you're going to do it wrong, but teacher's going to be the window side person, okay? And keep in mind, the question is, how many different ways can I put these letters in the blank if A has to be first? Window side person, explain it. Okay. And if you only have, it's all about choices. How many choices do I have? If A has to go there, well, only one choice. And then this could be three other numbers or letters are left, so 3. Why can't it be 333?
Because you can't use the,
Otherwise, the C and the D wouldn't go in. You know, like if you put in a B there, for example, you can't put in the C and the D anywhere. So they can't go like that. They have to go 3, 2, 1. So final answer is 6. Who got taught correctly? All right, good. 6 is correct. Now this was a neither because it had like these weird little rules. You can't turn this into a permutation problem automatically, but they can still ask you, did order matter on this problem? Yeah, the order mattered. That's the whole point, is how many different ways could we arrange them? And if the order didn't matter, you just put them all in. And there wouldn't be even any question if the order didn't matter. All right. So let's change it to a more complicated one. We're still going to use blanks, so just give yourself 4 blanks. But this is going to be like little license plates on your imaginary island. All right, so I have always thought it'd be cool to own an island. My parents used to have a cabin on an island, but there was like 8 other cabins on the island. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to have a cabin and like own the whole island. It's just your island, some small island out in the middle of a lake. If you do this in like the Caribbean, people own islands like that, and you can get them for as cheap as like $1 million for an island. You own the whole island in the Caribbean. It's just complicated to get there. You got to fly to some island and then hire somebody to get a boat to take you out to your island. But you could do it someday if you want. In Minnesota, it's more like $100,000 to buy a cheap island. There's more swanky ones that are more expensive, but you could own your own island. So imagine in the Caribbean, they just had a place go up for sale. This is a true story. It's called Pirate Island. It used to be used by a pirate, and they know who it was in history that owned that island. I can't remember the pirate's name, but anyway, that island, they put a whole bunch of houses up on it, and now they're selling off all the houses, and they have a little road that goes between the houses. And I've heard there's something like this on Grand Cayman, which is it's kind of off the coast of Florida. It's far away from Florida, but it's kind of in that neighborhood where people just drive around in golf carts on the island. They don't need full-on cars. They just drive golf carts around. So let's imagine that we have a golf cart scenario here where they have little license plates with 2 letters. These are both going to be letters. And 2 numbers. And I mean single-digit numbers. Now, normally there's 10 numbers, right? But again, I'm going to put on some restrictions here, so you can't just use a permutation or combination. But here's some restrictions. On the letters, this person is deathly afraid, the person who owns the island, is deathly afraid of Q and Z. So those are out. Also, doesn't want repeating letters. He's rich enough to buy the island. He can boss you around and tell you, how the license plates are going to go. No repeats on the letters. On the numbers, he doesn't like the number 4. Can you think of any reason why, especially certain cultures, would say no 4s? Yes?
In Chinese it means.
In Chinese, when you pronounce the number 4, it sounds like you're saying death. It's like super close. So therefore, 4 is a number it would be logical that you'd say, not using 4s. But they can repeat. But no letter 4. By the way, do you know what one of the most common fortunate numbers is also in China? It's considered like good fortune, this number. It's the number 8. And in China, when you pronounce the number 8, it sounds like wealth or like lucky or something like that. And so when they actually auction off license plates in China, you can buy your license plate. And it's not just pay $20, get the license plate. It's an auction. And so the really rich people in China, and there's lots of them, there's far more millionaires in China than there is in the United States. In China, they auction off these license plates, and the number 8888 is like only the richest guy in town is going to get that one because it's going to be super expensive, and he's going to auction it up, bid until he gets it because it's like super fortunate. It's true. I'm not making this up. All right. So I'm just telling you about the 8. I'm not saying it has to have 8s. That would make it too boring of a problem. But all right. So what are my rules? No repeats, no Q, and no Z on the letters. And repeats are okay on the numbers, but you can't use the number 4. And these are single-digit numbers. Like, normally you'd have 10 choices. Know what I mean? We're not talking about double-digit numbers. This is a single digit, and that is a single digit. All right, now, the opposite from the window side person. You're in charge of explaining how to do this with the blanks. I'm gonna pause for a second. Remember, student, you get to ask a question along the way, like, what about this? Or, where do I put that? Go ahead. So, here we go. I hope that your teacher, they might have actually had a better way to explain it than this, but I would have explained it as, I have choices for these letters, and since I can't use Q and I can't use Z, there's 26 letters in the alphabet normally, but I get 24. And since it can't repeat, this is going to be 23. How many of you got taught correctly on the letters? Okay, good. Then, how about the numbers? Well, on the numbers, you can't use 4, so then instead of 10 number choices, 0 through 9, which is 10 numbers, you now have 9 choices. And they can repeat, so then it's 9 times 9. And you times them all together, and that would be your grand total. Raise your hand if you had that one right. Okay, good. Then last thought, think of the 2-letter and 2-number combination you would want on yours. So if you're the friends with the guy on the island and you're like, hey, can I have cart blah, 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 would you please write down, this is personal, just for you, what would you pick? Remember, there better not be a Q, and there can't be a Z, and there can't be a 4 in your number. So, given that, what would you pick? There's no teaching on this one, you can just talk to the other person. No, what would be your thing? What is 24 times 23 times 9 times 9? All right, so I figured out that there was 44,712 if you multiply all of that. What's the probability I'm going to guess Tyler's right? Unless I cheated and walked over there and gave myself a non-random chance, you know, like if I just totally guess, what's the probability I'm going to guess is right? 1 out of 44,712. Do you get that's extremely unlikely? All right. Did you pick KQ92? All right. So would that have been a legal choice? Would K and Q and a 9 and a 2 all been like legal? Why not? Here's some people are saying not. Can't use Q. Oh, dang. Okay, so then if I thought that it was that, then there was a 0% chance I was going to get it right. You know what I mean? All right. Okay, so what? I think I've given you enough setup so that now you guys can just work on the Schoology quiz for the rest of the hour. Their problems just like we just did. Oh, wait, there's one more kind. My bad. One more kind. If I have a 3-digit number, and I'm thinking of a 3-digit number, you only have a 1 in, well, please figure out, what's the probability you're going to guess my number? All right, for this one, I want the window side person to explain, what's your probability of guessing my number?
So it's
3-digit number. I have a question.
Yes.
The first digit be 0 or no?
That is a good question. Yes, it can be. They can repeat, and the first number can be a 0. I'm not saying it is, saying it can be. It can. If there's a license plate, you can have a 0 on a license. Think about the license plate. You can have a 0 first. I get why you might argue that it is.
Because you only answer one number, and that was not an option.
Okay, so, by the way, my number was 778. All right, now, I should say it this way. What was the probability of you guessing that? All right, because wasn't there 10 choices for this number? And 10 choices for that, and 10 choices for that, 10 times 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. 1 in 1,000 chance. Makes sense? A lot of people would say 1 in 999 because they think, 999 is the biggest number. And then that's true, but there is 000 also, which means there's actually 1,000 numbers to pick from. So 1 in 1,000 chance. All right. What if I told you that my number had to be bigger than 800? Person on the other side, try to explain what you think it would be. If it has to be bigger than 800, now what's the probability you're going to guess my number? Wait. 800 or bigger. Otherwise, actually, there's this weird thing where it would have to be 800 and like 1, and it really gets complicated. So 800 or bigger. The number has to be 800 or bigger. Now.
And then for the second one, you have 10 options because then it's 2, I guess it'll be like 0 or 2. And for the last one, you have 10. So that's like 1, 2, 3. 3, yeah.
Okay. 800 or bigger. Would you agree I can have an 8 or a 9 in this spot? You know what I'm saying? So then I have 2 choices for that. I get it. A lot of people probably explain that wrong, and that's okay. If it's got to be 800 or bigger, then does it even matter what I have here? So then how many choices do I have? 10. And then I didn't say anything about repeats. That implies repeats are allowed. If they don't address something, then it can happen. So then it'd be 10. And there we go. 2 times 10 times 10, that'd be 20 times 10 is 200. Then you'd have a 1 in 200 chance of guessing my number. All right. Okay. So your assignment is that Schoology quiz. If you work together on it, I bet you'll probably get, at least 3/4 of the way, maybe even done in class. There's a new one. It's in today's folder. So find the Schoology quiz that's in there for today's folder. And that's all for you for today.